How do I ensure that my tenants look after my property? Is a question I get asked quite regularly by landlords. So today I'm just going to run through a few little tips on things that you can do to ensure that your tenants do look after your investment. So first of all, you need to make sure that you've got the right tenant in the right property. So referencing is incredibly important. I've had landlords say to me, oh, we know them, it's fine, and it's ended up being a bit of a disaster. So always get references, and even if you know them, I'm sure they won't be against it because it is normal procedure. So you want to be looking at a landlord's reference, current and previous. The current landlord may be having problems with them and may not want to give them a bad reference because then they're not going to move on. So always go one before that. You want to get a credit check. You want to get an employer's reference. If perhaps your potential tenants haven't rented before, they still live at home, you could always ask for a guarantor. That's not unusual. That's just a little bit of extra security for you on the property. So then once you've found the right tenant, you want to make sure that they're aware of their legal responsibilities. So the tenancy agreement is very important. In your tenancy agreement, you can list the tenant's responsibilities and the things that they need to do with regard to the property. So you can put in clauses about noise, how to dispose of litter, such as things as black bin bags tied securely in the rubbish bins put on the pavement for collection day. You can be that specific. You can also tell them what they can and can't do with regards to decorations. Can they use picture hooks? Can they use screws? Can they paint the walls without permission? Can they have a pet without you knowing about it? You can put all of those things into the tenancy agreement. Just be aware that it must be fair and reasonable. There are plenty of standard agreements out there. You can't just list unreasonable things, otherwise it won't be binding. And then another sort of legal document that's very important is the inventory. I know some landlords that have done a full refurb and have said, well, there's no point doing an inventory because there's nothing in it. There's no white goods, there's no furniture. No, but you've got ceilings, you've got walls, you've got floors, you've got brand new carpets, you've got brand new decorations. How can you prove that the tenant has redecorated a room bright purple from a magnolia if you haven't got an inventory stating it was magnolia and as new to begin with? So always back it up with lots of photographs. Ask the tenant to sign and date it, because if you need to rely on it at the end of the tenancy, you need to prove that they've had a copy and that they've seen it. Ideally get them to sign the bottom of every page in case one page goes missing, or as myself, I'm a big fan of using the online reports, and you can email it to them and you get an email back saying that they've received it. Very important if you're looking to make any deductions from the deposit at the end of the tenancy, because it won't hold up if you haven't got a valid inventory. So then the next tip is obviously inspections. I know some self-managing landlords that don't ever really go into the property, and it's a bit of a shock when they come to check the tenants out at the end. You want to be going in regularly. You want to be going in within a month when they first moved in. That's when they're going to have the most questions, the most queries, any teething problems. Go and see them. I normally do it a month to the day that they moved in. And then after that, you want the minimum of every 6 months. Then thereafter, after maybe sort of the first year, if you've got a good relationship with them, you can maybe then go slightly longer in between, maybe 7 months, or you could bring it forward if there's any problems. If there are problems, of course, you can go in more recently than 6 months, and you can let them know what they need to put right before you go back on your next inspection, which leads me nicely on to the next tip. Communication is key. So to get a good relationship with your tenants, they're going to report things to you, you're going to feel easier speaking to them. So you need a good relationship with your tenants. And sort of if there are any problems at your inspections, always put it in writing. So you've got proof that you've written to them and told them what needs to be done. You can remind them of the specific legal clauses in their tenancy agreement regarding the decoration or the pets or something that they've done that needs to be put right. If it's a minor problem, you have a good relationship with them, I wouldn't stress about it too much. You've got the deposit, you've got the inventory, but communication is absolute key. You need to get things nipped in the bud as soon as possible. So basically, to ensure that your tenant looks after your property, you want the right tenant in the right property. You want to ensure that they understand their legal responsibilities, and you want to have a good relationship with them. Obviously, my final tip is use a good local letting agent. And if you want a recommendation, I'm sure I can probably recommend somebody. Thank you. I'm Sarah Johnston from Homes for Harrogate.